The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
It's been a wonderful season so far for the Vancouver Canucks, but you know what? You haven't seen anything yet. We're stopping some hockey, and you know what that means, Kyle?
Let the games begin.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Oh, okay, I got that frog out of my throat. Let's go, baby. Welcome to Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks and also a Canucks writer for Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into the show, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks because it is your team every day. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go subscribe or follow us for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I also got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Coming up on today's episode, 30 minutes of talking about the All-Star game. No, I'm just kidding. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the Vancouver Canucks and the schedule, okay? The schedule makers. The Vancouver Canucks have had one of the easiest schedules in the NHL.
Whoa, come on, Trevor.
We got to talk about that today, okay? The road ahead. There's some good and some bad for the Vancouver Canucks. I also want to talk about the new look lines, okay? You know, Patchkov even said it publicly. He sees Elias Lindholm and Elias Pettersson playing together. We'll tell you what the new lines look like and, you know, what our suggestions would be for the Canucks moving forward. And then finally, I'm going to shout out a Cam Neely, former Canuck of the week. Before I do any of that, I got to introduce my co-host, the guy who loves hot dogs more than Phil Kessel. Kyle Bowden, how you doing, brother?
Nothing better than a long wiener, man. Straight up. That's what my dad told me. Anyways, Locked On Canucks, Kyle Bowden, Trevor Beggs. The schedule, man. We're talking about the schedule. We're also talking about the fact that Trevor Beggs is coming out the gate darker than ever. How can you say the Canucks have had it easy when they played the most games? They played a lot of road games. They've had the most pressure on them, okay, to start the season off, and they've done their thing, okay? They haven't had it easy. In retrospect, though, I think we can say those things, and I guess when the narrative is so physically changed, because I feel as if prior to this, you know, all of us on Locked On Canucks, well, I guess some of us on Locked On Canucks, you know, we've been talking about the Stanley Cup and things changing and the expectations changing. But hey, when you make a trade, the biggest trade a team can make at the deadline, well, not the deadline, prior to the All-Star break, you kind of force the narrative to change. And then you kind of force the rest of the league to analytically dive into what the Canucks have been doing this season. And I guess when you do that, you can say that this first place team has had an easy start based on the opponents they have played. But remember, guys, the team had the most pressure on them early on. I'm going to give this team all the credits. I'm going to give them an A+, okay? And I'm actually going to reset the season now. Is that too harsh for me? Like, I'm already forgetting about the first 49 games, and that's because of the Elias Lindholm trade. Anyways, continue. Talk about the schedule coming up.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to unpack there, buddy, and that's why I love having you as my co-host, because I don't know if you think of all these things quickly, but you just spit them out.
Yeah.
The Canucks, again, based on a couple sites I look at, and you know, my friends over at Power Rankings Guru would be one of them. The Canucks have had the third easiest schedule in the league so far this season. Only the Colorado Avalanche and the Boston Bruins have had tougher schedules. So when I look at the schedule remaining,
or easier schedules, easier schedules like the Boston and Colorado have had
they've had easier schedules than the Vancouver Canucks so far. So the Canucks again have the third easiest schedule in the NHL. When you look at the games remaining, you can look at a couple different sites out there, and the Canucks have, you know, the fifth hardest or the sixth hardest schedule remaining. And really, it looks like they have, you know, no matter what platform we looked at, they have the toughest schedule remaining among any Western Conference opponent. Okay. So again, you know, the Canucks have built themselves a nice cushion. That's what good teams do. They build themselves nice cushions. But Kyle, to your point about starting off strong and how much pressure the team was under, I think is a fantastic point, because you look at the first 6-7 games of the season, and obviously that loss to Philly, that loss to Tampa, but really over their first 7 games, I think they played nothing but playoff teams aside from the Predators, who are on the cusp right now. But until they played the Sharks, like their entire October schedule was against teams either in the playoffs or teams like right on the cusp of the playoffs, with the Predators being that only one who's not currently in the playoffs right now. So it wasn't the easiest schedule off the gates. They obviously smoked the Edmonton Oilers. They won a 5-game road trip where, we learned quite a bit about this team early on, their resiliency. But yeah, there were some cupcake games there in November and December. Again, they were kind of win one, lose one. They were beating bad teams, not so good against the good teams. So there were some things to take away. I will say one more thing, though, about the Canucks schedule so far this season, because it's easiest to say, oh, watch out, the Canucks haven't proven anything. By the way, the players just said that themselves too. So that's kind of why we wanted to title our episode this. But I did the math on this, Kyle. So against teams that are top 12 in the NHL right now, the Canucks being one of them, there's 11 underneath them. The Canucks have gone 10-4-2 against the top teams in the NHL this season. So it's a pretty damn good record. So it's not necessarily that they've just been beating up on bad teams. Again, they had that kind of mediocre stretch, but when it comes to playing tough competition, so far the Canucks have proven that they can hang.
Yeah, man. And it's a testament to the magic that is taking place in Vancouver. I think there's a lot of us, whether it be the fans or again skeptics across the league, that still associate a lot of luck with what's going on right now. But I don't know about you, but I feel as if I've barely heard about the PDO thing in the past 20 games. You know what I'm saying? This team is not lucky. In fact, the only time they will be truly lucky this season is in June, because you need to be a little lucky to win the Stanley Cup. Nonetheless, I think the Vancouver Canucks, again, the script is different. It's rewritten. The narrative has changed. And I'm sorry to everyone in that dressing room. I'm sorry to the fans too. Maybe I'm jumping the gun and not living the moment, but I've already gotten over, again, the first 49 games of the season. I'm ready for what's next, okay? I'm ready for more games against the Golden Knights, the Kings. I'm even looking forward to Carolina and Boston off the gate. 2 games against Boston, another rematch against Colorado. I'm excited for it. I think this team is excited for it, and this is another reason why you want to make this Elias Lindholm trade this early into the trade season. Get ahead of it, because regardless of the trade or not, I think the expectations and the pressure, more importantly, was going to alter post All-Star break. And I think using Lindholm as the signal, and also just a physical force, like an actual really good player, to help signal that change to the team, to the Vancouver Canucks, is going to allow this change, because it is different. It is different. Let's talk about it. That core, not only have they not been here before, not been at the top of the standings, not have had fun playing hockey in a long time, dude, they've never had the pressure on them. Even in the bubble play, they never had the pressure on them. This is like literal pressure, real pressure. Everyone is coming after you. Everyone is playing their best game ahead of you, okay? You're not the surprise of the league anymore. So can they handle it? I think they can, and I'm looking forward to them doing so against some quality teams.
Well, here's the thing, right? Again, it's cliche, but every good team's got to go through adversity, blah blah blah. Well, guess what, Kyle? You kind of mentioned it, man. You're a smart mofo, as they say. But the Canucks went through that adversity really early in the season, right? After another terrible start under Boudreau, a terrible start the season before. It was 3 years with this same core going through terrible starts. So I think there was a ton of pressure on this team to get it right this season, because there's nothing else you can change except the players.
But the pressure is different.
The pressure is different, but I guess my point is that they'd been through that pressure, right? Like,
they've been doubted.
I felt that pressure as a fan, like this team's got to get it going.
Yeah. The pressure is definitely, like, the amount of it could be the same, but it's a different attack coming from the pressure when you're kind of having the doubt from turning into a bottom dweller to an actual competitive team to, oh, you guys are the best team in the league. You guys are Stanley Cup favorites. I've seen so many posts these days talking about how the Canucks are Stanley Cup favorites. They're the best team in the league. And it's funny to me because I know Lindholm was the number one trade target and they got him, and it kind of signals the change of the train of thought amongst hockey onlookers across the league. But, bro, here's another reason why I think we can handle the pressure. Bro, like, we've been first place the whole season. The whole season. You're talking about adversity. Yeah, people think that we haven't faced that, but this market gets loud. They were winning one, losing one for pretty much 30 days. And how did they bounce off of that? When people were like, oh, this PDO thing, I told you it's going to catch up. What do? They went undefeated in regulation in January. The Vancouver Canucks are really, really good, and they just got better. And I want to bring this up too. I know we don't want to talk too much about the All-Star break, but again, magic is in the air. I don't think I'm speaking too early. I'm just seeing these things. Yeah, it's hard to handle the pressure and the change of pace and the expectations and blah, blah, blah. It's different, especially here in Vancouver. But 6 of those guys were in Toronto together, with Rick Tocchet. Bro, you don't think they were talking about this ish? They're ahead of it. Everything is lining up for the Vancouver Canucks to be able to handle not only being Stanley Cup favorites, but prepare to actually get there. And man, oh man, the road to June, it starts now.
I love it, man. Were you wanking it off while the Canucks playing the All-Stars game then, or
No,
what?
I wasn't, but I like that photo of the 6 players. You know what I'm saying? That's gangster, bro. That's gangster. Speaking of the players, okay, look at Dingbat. I'm deciding if I want a JT Miller jersey, a Quinn Hughes jersey, or an Elias Pettersson jersey. Bro, I hope money comes your way, a lot of money, so you can get all of those jerseys. That being said, who's the Canucks MVP so far? Because I think that decides what jersey this guy's going to get. I think it's Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, I said last week I think it's Pettersson, but I did mention that I've kind of flip-flopped between those 3 and Demko throughout the season. But, you look at the month that Pettersson just had in January. Yeah, he had some off games. We had 14 goals in 13 games. And I just feel like when Pettersson is at his best, and I feel like he's been at his best for a good chunk of the season. Yeah, I'm leaning Pettersson, but I think every player on the list has their ups and downs. But PD for me is really got an MVP case.
Dude, get a Rick Tocchet jersey, man. That guy's a legend. Okay, Mr. Whale also commented. We got some good games coming up. We just mentioned those teams. The Carolinas, the Avalanches. I think Callum Sandu mentioned Winnipeg as well. Dude, it's all happening. Vancouver's going to feel like Vancouver again. You're going to get off work early to watch these games. You're not going to work that overtime because you got something to do, and that's live your life watching Canucks games. I'm happy, man. I'm happy for the people, dude. It's back, bro.
Yeah.
It's back. And I don't, again, is the word bullish? I don't think I'm talking out of my ass. I see a fun team here, a charismatic team, a star-studded team led by Rick Tocchet, Alvin Rutherford. Something's in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, quickly before we get to break, 2 things. You mentioned not hearing much with the PDO. I think what makes the Canucks so dangerous, and to me, what makes them close to being a Stanley Cup favorite almost, is that mix of quality finishers and actually controlling possession, right? Like a team like the Carolina Hurricanes, the Los Angeles Kings have been possession beasts for a long time, but they haven't necessarily had the finishing talent to finish. Now, the Canucks, on the other hand, have been just kind of capitalizing on opportunities, but not necessarily controlling possession. But we kind of saw in January, and this is kind of trending upwards in December. Now they're controlling possession, and they're finishing on their chances. Like, that is a lethal combination. You add that with an improved defense and one of the best goalies in the league, and again, you never know what's going to happen come playoffs. But to me, the Canucks should be a Stanley Cup favorite. In terms of the schedule, yeah, good games with Carolina, Boston. But I'll tell you what, the 3 opponents I'm looking forward to seeing the Canucks play the most down the stretch are in the Western Conference. The Jets, who they haven't played yet, the Colorado Avalanche, who they lost their only game to, and the Vegas, who they also lost their only game.
They look bad against both those teams. They look bad. Let's admit it. They look bad against both those teams.
But that Colorado game was at least close. The Vegas game was trash. That Colorado game at least was close, and they were pushing in the latter half until Mills gave away one to Kevin Cart's goal.
And to your point, which, it's based on all facts, the Canucks in late December and in January have played a lot better. Like, this is the way you want to be playing going into games against Colorado and Vegas, teams that are highly skilled and more experienced than you and got more swagger than you. Even when the Canucks were winning games and doing their thing in November and whatnot, like, facing those teams, it was always going to be tough because there was still so much room for this team to improve on. And on that note, still a lot of room to improve on for the Vancouver Canucks. Talking to company, they're not going to be complacent. Trevor alluded to the fact that the title of this video is what? The Vancouver Canucks haven't proven anything yet. They keep saying that. They keep saying that. Based on the Lindholm trade and our expectations, bro, they really haven't proven anything yet. Anyways, Beggsy, who we shouting out before we get to the other side? I know you're going to do a deep dive on the lineups. Excited for that. Who's giving us the love on Locked On Canucks?
Well, first and foremost, the listeners are always giving us the love, but also sleepers giving us the love today. Hey, we're a little past the halfway point of the season. And Canucks fans, life is good, baby. You know what can make your life even better? is going and playing some daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is my number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like JT Miller, Quinn Hughes, or Nils Amon will record more or less than their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. To win a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Canucks fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability.
Okay, we back on Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That right there is Trevor Beggs. And you here on the YouTube Live are listening to the program, sending us love. Shout out to our podcast listeners as well. We wouldn't be here without, again, you. Speaking of which, one of the greatest fans on the program, okay? A polarizing fan, okay? For real. Because I think he loves the show, and I think he also hates the show as well, okay? For obvious reasons. Sometimes we're not a family show, okay? Jay, telling us what happened to this team being this show being a family show. I don't know. Things happen. We start talking and things happen. And how about this one? This one's an important one, okay? Elias and Elias on the same line, okay? I think we've been calling Elias Lindholm the wrong name because he's been commenting this a lot, Jay, that is, and I believe it's Elias if Jay is right? So it's Elias Lindholm and Elias Pettersson. Dude, imagine people called you the wrong. What if people called you Travis, okay? Hey,
Dude,
Travis.
all the time, and I never correct them. I don't really care. Kyle, I've told you this story. I'll tell it now. But Dan reached
Travis
you a
Bongs.
couple times.
How's it going, Travis Bongs? You're Travis, right?
Travis Bongs. That name's kind of sick, actually. I like Travis Bongs.
Yo.
No, I've Kyle, I've told you this off air, but I've met Dan Riccio a couple times covering Canucks games, and he always calls me Travis. And I just never correct him. Hey, Travis, how's it going? I'm like, Dan, it's going great. I don't care, man. It's all good. I'm not too bad. Maybe that's why my pronunciation is good like 80% of the time. But yeah, to Jay's point, I watched an interview like this interview from 5 years ago where Elias Lindholm is Elias Lindholm. Elias Lindholm. Oh my gosh.
Elias Lindholm. Come on, man. You suck.
Elias Lindholm and Elias Pettersson, man. Unbelievable. Anyways, that's how they said that they pronounce each other's names. So
yeah.
Is what it is.
Anyways, man. Okay, so let's talk about the line though. Let's talk about Pettersson. Let's talk about Mikheyev. Let's talk about Lindholm playing together. Why do you think that's gonna work outside of them just being, star players, good players? Like, what's the way you see this line executed, predicted?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think you dig into Lindholm's numbers, and the guy has proven that he can play with elite talent, and specifically Johnny Gaudreau. Right? You look at his performance with Johnny Gaudreau, who is a playmaker from the left wing. And he found ways just to find Elias Lindholm in the soft spots of the ice, right? So I think it's a matter of Lindholm just getting open in the slot and Pettersson kind of working his magic and feeding the puck to him. Now, I see right now it's Mikheyev, Pettersson, and Lindholm on what was line 2 at practice. Suter, Miller, and
who's playing center? Who's playing center? I'm guessing it's
Lindholm,
right?
They had Pettersson at center on these line rushes.
Okay.
Which to me makes sense. I think in terms of faceoffs, you probably want either Pettersson or Lindholm taking faceoffs on their strong side. But in terms of how they're deployed when they're actually skating in the zone, I think Pettersson is basically going to play center and Lindholm will play right wing there. So to me, that makes sense. But yeah, to me, it's just I think Lindholm's got to get open, right? I know he can be a playmaker as well. He might have moments to find Pettersson on the ice. Now, to me, what I really would like to see in the long term is Hoglander on this line. I just think he's earned the opportunity. I think you have Lindholm, who can be a decent-ish playmaker. Hoglander's got some good mitts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind Hoglander on the fourth line. I don't think it's a bad thing. But Kyle, maybe tell me your thoughts. Like, do you prefer Hoglander on the fourth line, or do you want to see him with Pettersson? Give me an all-Swedish line, man. Come on, the IKEA mattress, baby.
I know. I want to see that, and I think it may take a few games for that to happen. And if that actually does happen, that means that the Lindholm acquisition hasn't really been firing on all cylinders, right? If they're rushing to a change, right? Realistically speaking, which isn't the best thing as well. But one thing I think is obvious so far this season is maybe surprising to some, but our fastest player isn't Mikheyev this season. It's actually Niels Hoglander. And like the way he's playing, like maybe sometimes Lafferty too, you know? I just feel like Hoglander, I guess in simpler terms, Hoglander is quicker than Mikheyev this season. And I want to see that element with those two. It would be dynamic at points. Now, again, going back to what I said earlier, right? If we actually see this happen sooner than later, that means the second line or this other first line isn't working out. Mikheyev, Pettersson, and Lindholm, blah blah blah. Let's be positive here, okay? What does Mikheyev have to do to A, stay on this line, and B, just ramp it up here? Was this a Kuzmenko thing holding him back? Blah blah blah. Like Mikheyev, a big second half of the season coming up.
Yeah, I think he's got to improve a bit in all areas. Like I think defensively he hasn't been as crisp. I don't think he's been as noticeable or as much of a hound on pucks in the offensive zone.
There you go.
Like transition wise, like there's nothing really special about his game. So I see in all facets, to be honest with you, he's doing all the things, or Hoglander's doing all the things that he's really not doing. Maybe not as much defensively, although Hoglander's facing much softer matchups. But man, oh man, I think Mikheyev's got to prove that he's got some offensive zone, right? Whether it's getting to the net, maybe he's the guy going to the net. I think Lindholm is more of a guy who's going to score in the slot. Mikheyev is going to pound it rebounds from in front of the net. But just be involved in plays, man. It just has been way too silent, way too quiet lately. So yeah, I don't know if that's a crystal clear answer, but
no, it is. It is.
More
it
from
is.
all parts of his game.
I think being more of a wrecking ball to free up pucks for Pettersson and Lindholm to kind of create from would be a good starting point. And I think Mikheyev still has an opportunity to be that guy, but I wonder how long of a leash he's going to get. I mean, the Vancouver Canucks are playing two really good teams off the jump right after an All-Star break. You never know what's going to happen. You're playing two really good teams. The Canucks could get their ass kicked. You know what I'm saying? Like things can happen, right? And let's say the fourth period of this 2-game set between Carolina and Boston is still going on and the Canucks are struggling. I would not be surprised if Rick Tocchet moves up a player in Hoglander to that second line. A, because you need a spark, and B, in recent history, I know the Canucks have been winning a lot playing with leads, but Tocchet has given Hoglander more chances in the third period when there's less than 10 minutes left in the game. I think that trust is growing, and more importantly, Hoglander is getting it. Like he's getting it. He's understanding.
Yeah, for sure. Although there's one other thing I'll nitpick with here. Now, I'll talk a bit about the power plays when we're talking about lines, but it looks like power play one right now is Lindholm net front. Again, Thomas Drance supporting. Lots of movement on the power play, but basically it looks like Lindholm net front, Besser, Miller, Pettersson, and Hughes. So no real surprises there. Curious to see what that looks like. And yeah, this is a nitpick, but power play 2, you have Suter, Mikheyev, Lafferty, Garland, and Hronek. Again, to me, it's like, why is Hoglander not on power play 2? To me, that makes no sense. Like, how is Mikheyev deserving to be here above Hoglander? Again, it's a small nitpick that unit doesn't see a lot of ice time, but to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Like, why is Lafferty on the power play? Well, you don't need Lafferty and Mikheyev on a power play, you know?
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm not going to talk much longer about power play unit number 2.
Yeah,
just can't happen.
No, we'll get.
They're
we'll
on
get
the ice longer than my time on attack when making love these days. But you know what? I just turned 30 and a half years old. You can't blame me. It's an adjustment. I got to get used to it too. You know, like how we're saying there's new expectations post All-Star break, the Lindholm trade. The narrative's different. The Canucks, you haven't proven anything yet because the new goal in the moment is the Stanley Cup. Dude, when I turned 30 and a half years old or 30 years old, everything changed. And my performance changed, and I just got to get used to how to do that. Right? It's a family show. I won't say it, but how to do that as a 30-year-old efficiently. And if I can do it efficiently, but with the other person.
I know they say we keep talking about being a JT Miller fan because like 30-year-olds, they still have game. They still have game. Yeah. So you'll find it, man. You'll find it. I mean, I believe I'm a 30-year-old with game still, but
yeah,
maybe that's not the truth, but you got me second guessing this. But let's stop second guessing ourselves. Get to the final segment of the show. There's a guy I want to give a shout out to specifically today and not tomorrow. So we'll do that on the other side. But first, I got to shout out FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl! Hey, it's Super Bowl week, baby. Let's go. Happy Super Bowl to all those who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. Okay, let's go. Kyle, did you see that one thing about will Travis Kelce propose to Taylor Swift?
He ain't gonna do it, man.
Come on. Yeah, these guys are just trying to take your money, man. But no worries. I think that was FanDuel, actually.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's keep going on. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you place a bet on who will win the Super Bowl, but FanDuel also has bets for Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift proposal odds, I think. Which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And hey, you know what? With that Locked On check, if you like and subscribe, maybe Kyle could place a few bucks on FanDuel himself. Okay, let's go.
Okay, we back on an episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That right there is Trevor Beggs. Hit the like and subscribe button if you are loving the show, and if you're new to the show, and if you hate the show and you hate us, it's okay, man. We cheer for the Canucks, man. We're all Canucks, and our team is first place. Who cares? It's not about us, Trevor. It's about the damn hockey team and the fans, man. It's just the truth. Speaking of the fans, okay, Elston, one of my favorites, says we back, baby. And I don't think he's alluding to like Locked On being back. It's Monday, your team every day, blah, blah, blah. I think he's just alluding to, the Canucks being back. Like, I miss the Vancouver Canucks. I'm not going to front. Yeah. I missed them a lot. And I'm so grateful. I almost swore there. I'm so grateful, man. Real talk. Real talk. This is life, baby. I feel like myself. Look at my smile. Dude, the hockey team is good again. It's not fake. It's not fake news. It's real news. And we just made the biggest trade of the year to bring in the biggest guy on the trade list. That's something else, man. That's something else. How about this one, okay? From Sami Shows, he says, I think the best thing to come out of the NHL All-Star Weekend is for the Canucks is that all the other teams are still underestimating them. I don't think that's the truth. They're not underestimating them. That ain't happening. And I think the NHL media, aka the NHL universe, is no longer underestimating the Vancouver Canucks. Because again, I've seen a lot of people talking about the Vancouver Canucks being the best team in the league. Oh, they were the best team in the league prior to this Elias Lindholm trade. Dude, the narrative is different around this team.
Yeah, it sure is. And like we kind of said off the top here, we're gonna find out what this team is made of over the finals or over the next stretch here. Again, I'm really curious to see the Avs, Golden Knights, and Jets games in particular. But just to run through the gamut here, Canucks got Hurricanes tomorrow, Bruins Thursday. Then a bit of an easier stretch although the Red Wings are in the playoffs. They played Red Wings, Capitals, Blackhawks, Red Wings, and then it's Jets, Wild, Avalanche, Kraken, Bruins. So I can't wait, man. I can't wait for the Canucks hockey to be back. I did mention the Carolina Hurricanes, and they're going to play them tomorrow. And that's the guy who I'm giving a shout out to in the Cam Neely, former Canuck of the week. And the Cam Neely, former Canuck of the week for this week is Jaylen Chatfield, baby. And the reason I want to shout him out today specifically is because I don't want to give this guy any love on the day where we actually play the Carolina Hurricanes, which is tomorrow, 4 p.m. But just to give him love for just continuing to be a presence in the NHL, man. This guy, again, left the organization. I think Canucks fans at the time were like, yeah, whatever. Who is this guy? He played a handful of games that bubble season. And he's become a regular on one of the best blue lines in the NHL. Not only has he become a regular, like he proved himself last season. He was playing games for this team as they went to the conference final. But Jaylen Chatfield was a 7th defenseman this season. The Hurricanes acquire Orlov and Tony DeAngelo, and then all of a sudden he's out of a job. Jaylen Chatfield has pushed Tony DeAngelo out of a job. Tony DeAngelo, who was making $5 million a season last year,
Damn.
Jaylen Chatfield is again making pretty much league minimum right now. But Jaylen Chatfield's played 43 games, 4 goals, 9 assists, and 13 points. He has bumped Tony DeAngelo out of the lineup. Tony DeAngelo has only played 21 games for the Carolina Hurricanes. So suck on that, Tony DeAngelo, known as one of the biggest D-bags in hockey. And he been bumped out of a job by former Canuck Jaylen Chatfield.
Yeah, man. And Carolina has played a lot better since the time that we played them and kind of dominated them. They've flipped the script. They're one of the best teams in the league. Aren't they? Like over the last 20 games? Because I looked at the standings. I was like, damn, they got themselves back into some relevancy in comparison to the expectations for that team.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be fun.
100%. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about it a bit tomorrow. Who knows? But they have been on a heater recently, 7-2-1 in their last 10. But Sebastian Aho in particular, I got him in fantasy hockey, but he's been absolutely killing it lately.
Why does he hate Pettersson, man? Watch the game tomorrow. He hates Pettersson, man. I know he does because he's always going after him. Yo, dude, it gets my blood boiling, okay, when people go after our best players. It gets my blood boiling just watching games again. And again, got to end off the show with the comments to people. Look at GV. I'm going to name my son GV, okay? I haven't watched this many straight games since the Cup run. The same feeling of excitement. It's not just excitement, man. I think more and more people are feeling like themselves again. This team, it's a big part of the fabric, right? Big part of the purpose of your life. Okay, how about Callum Sandu? Change your name, man. Be real about it, okay? Change the name actually on YouTube, okay? Callum Sandu is saying it's fun to be a Vancouver Canucks fan again. And then we have Disturbed saying, I'm excited, but going at it even keeled. I'm glad there's 16 games to see how it's going until the deadline. Damn, I wish I could be sometimes more like that, more even keeled. Because, I'm super excited. We played 20 games. We traded for Zadorov. The thumbnail said cup or bust, I've been dreaming about hitting the home run, fourth base with the Vancouver Canucks, okay? Pretty much the whole season. I wish I could take it one game at a time, but I've always been like this. I'm talking being a Canucks fan, we got lucky. We got right into this during the West Coast Express. The expectations as we got into this relationship with the Vancouver Canucks was cup or bust. So anytime the team is good, why not be one to believe in magic going your way? And if that's the case, again, the Canucks haven't gotten lucky yet. They just got to do their thing, continue to get better, play more games, boom, bam. When the playoffs roll around, how come this team is one that can't get lucky? I can't come up with an answer. And if this team gets lucky, they're going to be playing in June.
Let's go. I mean, not to end this way, but the reason they can't get lucky is because it's been 53 years of failure in this market. But it's got to change one of these days.
Exactly.
Right?
Why not this year when nobody thought it was going to happen? This is so crazy, dude. 12 months ago, we're not thinking like this, dude. We're not thinking yo, we got to be competitive. Remember that term? Meaningful games. We just want meaningful games, bro. We're not even thinking like that. We're not that far removed from it. A lot of weird things are happening. It's been a flip of the script. But when you look at reality, this team is stacked. They got high-end players and high-end leadership within the organization with the older individuals, right? Rutherford, Alvin Tocchet, Adam Foote, Sergei Gonchar. There's something different, okay, going on with the Vancouver Canucks. And for them to get to the promised land, maybe it had to be this way. Again, I'm talking way too early. Again, Trevor, we'll end on this note. There you go, man. This is why I'm premature, blah, blah, blahing all the time, because I'm just getting way ahead of it. I got to slow my roll, okay? Take it one day at a time, one stroke, one moment at a time, one game at a time. Trevor, sign us out.
Hey, the Canucks got Kyle Tua excited on life, but that's okay, baby, because they're the best team in the NHL. And you know that we got you covered here for all of the goods on Locked On Canucks. So shout out to the everydayers, the occasional listeners, the first-time listeners, the new subscribers. Hey, we got over 1,500, man. That means a lot, man. I cried.
Made it, man.
I cried this weekend, man. On
dude, I told my mom, I was like, yo, don't worry about the mortgage, baby. Don't worry about the mortgage. I got y'all.
There we go. We love each and every one of you, your families, and your dogs too. Coming up later this week, getting back into the games. Okay, let's go. We will also talk about what the Canucks might do with the deadline as well, whether it's Tanev, whether it's somebody else. We'll have you covered for trade rumors, news, analysis, games, all that fun stuff, and just here for a goddamn good time. Okay, but we got to get out of here. So for now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy is Kyle Bowen, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
One love. Peace out.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On